U.S. lawmakers urge Prince Andrew to testify in Jeffrey Epstein investigation. American lawmakers have formally asked former Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor to cooperate with their investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. A Democratic-led congressional committee believes the former prince holds crucial information about Epstein's crimes and his associates. While U.S. officials lack the authority to compel Andrew to appear, they have urged him to testify voluntarily to clear his name. Andrew has repeatedly denied allegations made by Virginia Giuffre, who accused him of sexual abuse. The committee's request follows the discovery of a 2011 email in which Andrew allegedly told Epstein, "We are in this together," heightening suspicion about his involvement. Lawyers representing Epstein's victims have also called on Andrew to step forward and testify under oath. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, when asked about the matter during Prince William's visit to Brazil for the COP30 conference, said anyone with relevant information should cooperate with inquiries. The appeal adds pressure on US's authorities to release full records of Epstein's criminal network and those connected to it. Suburban moms arrested protesting immigration raids outside Chicago ICE facility. 14 suburban mothers were arrested outside the Broadview ICE detention center in Illinois after staging a peaceful sit-in to protest federal immigration enforcement operations. The group, calling themselves Suburban Moms, blocked a road in front of the facility as an act of civil disobedience, demanding an end to what they described as a campaign of Chaw's undersea Operation Midway Blitz. The women said they wanted to draw attention to the fear and trauma caused by ongoing immigration raids that have left many immigrant families, friends, and caregivers in distress across the Chicago area. Meanwhile, a car caravan of around 20 vehicles circled the site, honking and displaying signs reading "Hands Off Chicago." A nearby multi-faith prayer service was also held in solidarity with immigrant communities. Organizers say more demonstrations are planned throughout the day as calls grow to halt aggressive immigration enforcement actions. Illinois SNAP recipients to receive partial payments amid federal funding dispute. Nearly 2 million Illinois residents who depend on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program SNAP will begin receiving partial payments starting today after a federal judge ordered the Trump administration to fully fund the program. However, the administration has decided to issue significantly reduced November benefits while appealing the ruling, leaving about 42 million Americans who rely on food stamps uncertain about their assistance. Some recipients may receive no benefits at all this month. Vice President Mike Pence criticized the court's decision, calling it absurd and arguing that the administration cannot be told how to manage funding during what he described as a Democrat government shutdown. Illinois Governor Pritzker has allocated $20 million in state funds to support food banks and pantries during this period of instability. The Illinois Department of Public Health has assured residents that updates will continue as the situation develops. Flight cancellations mount at Chicago airports amid FAA-ordered cuts. Travelers at Chicago's and Midway airports are facing major disruptions this morning as airlines begin implementing mandatory flight reductions ordered by the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA. According to the Chicago Department of Aviation, nearly 80 flights have already been canceled and around 20 at Midway. The FAA has required airlines nationwide to cut 4% of flights today across 40 major airports, and to reach a 10% reduction by next Friday, November 14th, or face fines of up to $75,000 per flight that exceeds the limit. Officials say the cuts are necessary to maintain safety amid severe staffing shortages of air traffic controllers and SA agents caused by the ongoing government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history. Many critical employees have been working without pay, with some calling in sick or taking side jobs to cover expenses. Despite both Chicago airports operating at about 85% of their target staffing levels, travelers remain anxious about additional cancellations as more than 800 flights nationwide have already been affected. FAA announces 10% flight reduction to maintain safety amid staffing crisis. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, has confirmed plans to implement a 10% reduction in flight capacity across 40 major U.S. airports due to growing staffing shortages among air traffic controllers. Transportation officials revealed that financial pressures from the prolonged government shutdown have forced many controllers to take side jobs to cover basic expenses such as food, gas, and bills, leading to widespread absenteeism and mounting strain on the aviation system. The Department of Transportation, emphasized that while it does not want further disruptions, safety remains its top priority. The FAA administrator and his team have been analyzing data over the past several days to identify high-pressure areas in the national airspace and develop measures to reduce risks. Officials warned that travelers should expect more flight delays and cancellations in the coming days as the system adjusts to the reduced capacities. Despite the challenges, the DOT reaffirmed its commitment to maintaining safe and reliable air travel across the country. Israel kills 2 Palestinians in central Gaza. Israel's military has killed at least 2 Palestinians in separate attacks in central Gaza, claiming they fired on men approaching the yellow line that divides Israeli-occupied territory. Since the U.S.-brokered ceasefire took effect on October 10th, at least 241 Palestinians have been killed. Dozens trapped under rubble in Gaza City. Civil defense teams in Gaza report that many Palestinians remain trapped beneath the rubble of a collapsed building in Gaza City's neighborhood. The United Nations has warned that tens of thousands of displaced Palestinians are being forced to live in damaged and unsafe buildings. Aid restrictions deepen Gaza's humanitarian crisis. The Norwegian Refugee Council says Israel is allowing only 100 trucks into Gaza each day, far fewer than the 600 promised under the ceasefire deal. Families are struggling to survive, with many depending on soup kitchens for their only meals. A Palestinian father of 9 described the dire conditions, saying people have no choice but to rely on charity kitchens to stay alive. Israeli forces killed teen in West Bank raid. In the occupied West Bank, Israeli soldiers killed a 15-year-old boy during overnight raids in the town of Elamoun near Jenin. Witnesses say troops shot Mard Foizi Ebwen 4 times and then prevented medics from reaching him, leaving him to die before seizing his body. U.S. government shutdown becomes longest in history. The United States is facing the longest federal government shutdown in its history, now in its 37th day. The FAA has announced plans to reduce air traffic by 10% at 40 major airports unless the shutdown ends soon, a move that could disrupt up to 4,000 flights daily. Over 60,000 aviation workers, including 13,000 air traffic controllers, are working without pay. The air traffic controllers warn of resignations. Nick Daniels, president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, warned that staff burnout and financial hardship are forcing some controllers to resign. Many are working 10-hour days, 6 days a week, without pay or the ability to take on second jobs. Millions lose food assistance amid shutdown. A report from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities reveals that nearly 1.2 million households, around 5 million people, will receive no SNAP food assistance this month, despite court rulings ordering the government to continue payments. Energy assistance delayed for low-income families. The shutdown has also delayed federal funding for the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LIDIP, which helps 6 million households afford heating and cooling. 1 in 6 American homes is currently behind on energy bills. Deadly drone strike in Sudan kills 40. In Sudan, a drone strike hit a funeral in North Kordofan, killing at least 40 people. Local officials accuse the Rapid Support Forces, first paramilitary group, of carrying out the attack. The region lies east of Darfur, where a brutal massacre continues to unfold amid the ongoing civil conflict. Sudan conflict escalates as rebels capture al-Fashir. Rebel forces in Sudan have taken control of the city of al-Fashir amid warnings from Secretary General and new Guterres that the civil war is spiraling out of control. The humanitarian situation continues to deteriorate across the country as violence spreads. U.S. ends deportation protections for South Sudanese immigrants. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security announced the end of deportation protections for immigrants from South Sudan. Around 230 South Sudanese nationals currently residing in the United States under the Temporary Protected Status (EPS) program will have just 60 days to leave the country. This decision comes despite warnings of escalating conflict and food insecurity in South Sudan. The Trump administration has already revoked similar protections for immigrants from Afghanistan, Cameroon, Haiti, Honduras, Nepal, Nicaragua, Syria, and Venezuela. Court orders better conditions for detainees at Chicago ICE jail. A federal judge in Chicago has ordered authorities to improve conditions at the Broadview ICE detention center after reports of severe overcrowding and unsanitary conditions. Testimonies reveal that up to 150 detainees were held in cramped cells with overflowing toilets and full-tasting drinking water. The court now requires officials to provide detainees with clean bedding, hygiene products, adequate meals, bottled water, and access to showers every other day. Oregon judge blocks National Guard deployment to anti-ICE protests. In Oregon, a federal judge has once again barred the Trump administration from sending National Guard troops to suppress anti-ICE protests in Portland. The ruling reinforces earlier court decisions protecting demonstrators from excessive federal intervention. ICE arrests Chicago teacher in front of children. Federal immigration agents in Chicago arrested a daycare teacher in front of parents and children. Witnesses reported that the educator, who had legal work documents, was violently detained by ICE officers. Local officials, including Congressman Mike Quigley, condemned the arrest, describing the teacher as a trusted member of the community. U.S. citizens baby taken during ICE raid in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, ICE agents arrested a U.S. citizen during a raid at a Home Depot and drove off in his vehicle while his one-year-old daughter remained in the back seat. Witnesses shouted in protest, alerting agents to the child's presence. The man's mother later received a phone call from an unknown number instructing her to retrieve the baby. Both she and the child are U.S. citizens. Mexico's president files complaint after public harassment. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum was harassed by a drunken man while interacting with citizens in Mexico City. The man attempted to kiss and embrace her before being arrested. President Sheinbaum stated she filed a formal complaint, emphasizing that the incident symbolizes broader issues of women's dignity and rights in society. California Republicans challenge new congressional maps. Republicans in California have filed a lawsuit against the state's newly drawn congressional districts. The legal challenge follows the recent approval of Proposition 50, which was passed by California voters to strengthen fair representation and counter gerrymandering practices similar to those seen in Texas. Trump calls California redistricting rigged. Former President Donald Trump has criticized California's recent redistricting effort, calling it an unconstitutional scam. The move, which aimed to secure 5 additional House seats for Republicans, has sparked controversy and a lawsuit by California Republicans. In a social media post, Trump accused state officials of rigging the voting process, while Governor Gavin Newsom's spokesperson dismissed his remarks, saying, "Good luck, losers." Supreme Court hears case on Trump's tariff authority. The U.S. Supreme Court has begun hearing arguments in a case challenging former President Trump's authority to impose sweeping tariffs on foreign goods. Solicitor General John Sauer defended Trump's use of the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act (IEEPA), which allows presidents to regulate commerce during national emergencies. However, several justices expressed skepticism, suggesting that tariff powers belong to Congress, not the president. Justice Sonia Sotomayor stated, "It's a congressional power, not a presidential power to tax, and tariffs are exactly that. A ruling could come later this year. U.S. proposes lifting on sanctions on Syrian leaders. The United States has reportedly proposed that the United Nations Security Council lift sanctions on Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharar and members of his government ahead of their planned visit to the White House next week. According to a draft resolution obtained by the Associated Press, al-Sharar, who once led the Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, has been on the sanctions list since 2014. The proposal has raised international concerns given his origins as al-Qaeda's affiliate in Syria. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey wins re-election. In Minneapolis, Democratic Mayor Jacob Frey has been re-elected, defeating Democratic Socialist challenger Omar Fayed in a ranked choice voting contest. Frey's victory marks his continued leadership after a politically charged campaign centered on policing and housing reforms. New York Mayor-elect Soren Mandani announces all-female transition team. Newly elected New York City Mayor Soren Mandani unveiled his all-female transition team in Queens, featuring former Commissioner Lina Fenn among its members. When asked about his stance on ICE agents accused of unlawful detentions, Mandani emphasized equality under the law, saying, "Everyone will be held to the same standard. If you violate the law, you must be held accountable whether you are the president or an agent."